Hi y'all, Renee here. I am here today to show you how I put together that mini album that I did in my last video where I twisted the Sweet as Honey card kit into a mini album. I made this mini album for my daughter-in-law for her upcoming baby shower. And here I am. I've just showed you a quick look as to what was in the kit itself. I do a slower go through of the kit on a previous video. So if you're interested in that, just look in my haul video that I had earlier in the month. And here what I'm doing is I'm just taking each one of the envelopes that are in the kit and I'm just slicing off a really small tiny bit off of the bottom edge. And what that does is that creates a little pocket that you can use later. And you'll see I use some for tip-ins, I use some for pocket cards. Here I am making the first steps of the pages. And unfortunately, I cannot remember the person's video where I found the construction. I looked at so many to figure out what I wanted to do when I went to make this album that I completely lost which one I used. But what I will do is I will look for it. If I'm able to find it, I will link it down below. I hope I'm able to find it, but very simply what you do is you just place the envelopes face to face, glue the flaps together, and then slip those flaps inside the other one like you're putting it in the envelope. And then you just add as many pages as you like. I actually ended up using 8 envelopes. I At first, when I first started this project, I thought, okay, well, I'll just use all the envelopes and make an album. And then you can see there I counted the envelopes and I'm like, I am going to have way too many pages and this thing is going to be way too fat. So what I did is I ended up making 2 albums out of this one kit. I had enough envelopes to do 2, but of course I only had enough paper to do 1 because I got very decorative. So here I am adding in some tip out pages, and those are just the cards glued on one side and slipped in those pockets. I did it about every 3 pages. I did a tip in. And then you'll see here in a minute that I take the card and I cut it in half, and that'll create 2 pocket cards that can slide in those pockets. And like I said, those pockets are already there. You don't have to create them. I've done other albums where you have to create those pockets, and I have to say, this was so much easier. And I'm looking forward to making some more of these albums. I think I'll pick up some 5x7 envelopes from Joann or Michaels or where at Hobby Lobby and try to make some larger ones because I really think that this is a really fun project. Um, so you'll see there that I am starting to put the decorative papers on. And really the only thing I knew is that I definitely wanted to use that bee paper on the very first page, on the very cover. From there, it was just kind of open. The only other things that I had were on these 2 pages, which you'll see at the end of this. I have some close-up photos for you of the album, is that I put on the invite, and then I also put the little card about what time and place and all of that. Um, what I did to create those, which you'll see in, like I said, in the pictures at the end, is I took a photograph of the invite and then I just printed it on my little, I have a little Epson, it's an older Epson little photo printer, and I just printed those down to 4x6 or a little bit under 4x6 so that I could use them as sort of like embellishments because the invite itself was way too big for this album because this album is only as large as those envelopes. So what I'm doing here is I looked at the zip strip to pull out what colors coordinate with this paper, and all of our zip strips will tell you the colors. Then this little honeycomb piece was cut from the Sweet as Honey digital art, or no, it wasn't, I'm sorry, I take that back. This is actually cut from the die set that comes with the exclusive stamp set with the card kit. And so I just used the negative space to create some fun little texture for the corners. And then you'll see later when you look at the pictures that that little piece that I used as my stencil, I actually repurposed it as an embellishment. I love the way that you can use things and then use them again. And so there's my first double tip out. And I did the double tip out a couple times. I didn't want to do it too many times because you get to the point where the mini album is just way too thick and it's unwieldy. So here I am again putting some more of the covered pages or the colored pages on. This particular one is going to have a photo card. So what I did was I took that old circle punch that I have from Hobby Lobby and just cut a little notch. You don't have to do that, but I've noticed that it does make it easier to get those little cards out. Plus, when someone's looking at the album, they know that there's something else there, that it's an interactive piece, and that they can pull that out. Now, you will want to cut your papers if you're making this. You'll want to cut your papers um, a little bit smaller when you're putting them on your tip outs and when you're putting them on your pocket cards, because those pieces are obviously smaller so they can fit in the envelopes for the kit. And then the other thing I like is that our paper is two colors on the same paper. So one side is lighter and one side is darker. And so I tried to move that around a little bit to give it some more interest. And then here what I'm doing, and I'm really glad I took my Misty out to do this because that little beehive there down in the bottom left-hand corner is very intricate and it's quite small. So it took a few times to get it to really have a nice impression. The other thing is I'm really close to the edge of my Misty, and I have noticed on my Misty, I don't know if everyone's is like this, that if I'm too close to the edge, I have a hard time getting a good impression. I need to get some of those misty corners and move my paper away from the corner. And I think that'll help me out a whole bunch. So here I am doing another bit of the flip outs. And then I'm probably about halfway through the album at this point. And I'm really starting to like it. I'm starting to get some ideas for how I'm going to decorate it. At this point, I hadn't done any of my embellishments that I was planning on using. I wanted to see how many pages, that sort of thing. Here I am making another one of those notches. And I think it's crazy how that black and cream um, paper kind of does crazy things on the screen. So kind of glad I got this sped up for you, because otherwise that, when I was editing, I was like, oh my goodness, that is horrible. It's some sort of a weird camera thing that it just turns that print into something crazy. Um, but I do love this paper. It really worked out well for her baby shower, and I don't know if I shared this before in my previous video, but I actually already had this mini album in mind when I was figuring out how I was going to change this card kit up a little bit. And then when I got the invite for the baby shower, I was like, oh, this was meant to be, and this is for her. So I've already given her a little sneak peek so she knows what it looks like, and she's very excited. And trying to think of some other things about this mini album that um, you'll see at the very end when you see how I decorated it, that I added some extra little pockets. I added some little belly bands where you could slip things in. It's really anything you want. And so that is everything that I filmed for you. Doing the actual decorating, it took me a while because I was playing around and I sprayed some with gilt spray, as you see there. And if you want more information about each one of the individual pages and how I created each one of these, just watch the video that I posted just before this one. I will also link it down below. And in that video, I do a full walkthrough of every single page and explain how I put each thing together, where it came from. And with that, I'm going to leave you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully my voiceover wasn't horrible. I'm not very good at them, but I hope you have a wonderful day. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you subscribe. And with that, leave me a thumbs up if you like it, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.